Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first edition of Coach's Corner. Let's go. Todd Williams in the house.
I'm always your first, Scott.
1987. 1987. And I see you brought some stuff with us this morning. That's good stuff.
A lot of stories behind those.
Yeah, and we're
you
gonna,
told me to bring a bunch of pictures.
I know it.
Right?
And we're going to hopefully get to some of that. But the pride of 1987. Now, you and I have joked about this, right? The single greatest class ever from Monroe High. Right, we're going to get to that throughout the show.
Arguments behind there, but I would go with that.
The 88 group's always going to argue that, but they'll fall short of that. Anyway, 1987, Tennessee, Olympics, Monroe Jiu Jitsu, one-stop shopping, brother. We're going to cover it all today. But we got to start with the foundation. You know where I'm going back with this. Elementary school and the rivalries that we had. Now, I was a Waterloo Wolverine, and then I entered the transfer portal, right? Went to Custer.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your background growing up.
You know, when I moved back here in 2016, I was gone since 1987. I went off to University of Tennessee from Monroe High School. But after moving back home and just driving around Monroe, it's all the memories that go back, you know, what you're bringing up now with elementary school. I went to Manor School, right? We were the Bobcats. But it was cool back then, right? Because we would compete against each other at Manor versus Riverside, Manor versus Waterloo, Manor versus Custer. And that's when really we started building this friendship, right?
Yeah.
We got such a huge fraternity, being able to compete in athletics at such a young age, but also we were fierce competitors. So, you know, I think about my Manor Bobcat days, and that's where it all started for me.
And a lot of people will compare, and you know this, the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry, much like the Manor-Custer rivalry. I mean, some great athletes of their time. I mean, the clock stopped when those two got together. Whether it was floor hockey, basketball, it didn't matter. Stop the clocks.
Didn't matter.
Stop the clock. So, Todd, of course, known for your jiu-jitsu certainly today, but you're running. Monroe High, 20-sometime, All-American, U.S. champion, all that stuff, man. We're going to get to that throughout the show. But early influences. How'd you get all this stuff started, man? How'd you get into this running stuff?
When I think back in athletics, it started real early because I was hyper as a kid.
Yeah.
You know, my mom and dad, you know, we got to get this kid out of the house.
Yeah,
right?
I remember those days.
So they dropped me off at the YMCA. I was age 4. Started swimming with the Monroe Dolphins, the YMCA program that they had back then.
It's not like the Miami Dolphins. That's different.
No, it was a lot of swimming. And, you know, I tell people nowadays they think I'm, you know, crazy, but I was doing 2-a-day swimming I started in 3rd grade. So I'd go to 2-a-day swimming. And then from there, I jumped into wrestling. From there, baseball, basketball, football. And, you know, again, I was really blessed to have great people around me with great coaches. So that's kind of the foundation, being introduced. My parents saying, hey, we're going to put you in something. We're going to see what you like, but you're definitely going to do something. And then again, it started with all the, you know, kind of the main sports. And then, you know, I went from the Manor School days onto the junior high and onto the high school.
So back to our whole thing, right? Coach's Corner, right? And perfect, right? Beautiful setting here with our corner couches here. This is great stuff. So early influences. I know you and I have shared some of the same coaches, but before that, you leave Manor, right? We all head to Cantrick. What was the scouting report when you heard Salow coming out of Custer? I mean, you had to be nervous. I mean, a little?
No, not at all.
Not at all?
No.
Okay.
I didn't hear anything about
that. So anyway, early influences, some of the coaches, because we're going to get some of them on our podcast. But before we do that, I'm going to throw it out there right on the show right now. I'm just throwing it out there. Right? You're an elite athlete, great guy, good-looking guy.
I love you. I'm going to. Can I take you from here?
No, I got to finish my sentence.
Okay, go ahead.
So here's the offer, right? So we're going to this Coach's Corner, and I thought I was going to do this like solo effort thing, but I'm thinking, man, this would be fun. You know how the Kelsey brothers are doing their thing?
You're putting me on the spot.
I mean,
right
we're going to
now.
do the Kelsey brothers minus Taylor Swift, right? It's just going to be you and I, and we're going to bring in guests.
I'm going to be a co-host, or
I'm throwing out the offer right now.
The main host, or
well,
like if we announce the show, are you going to be considered the main guy? Or
I think it's going to be equal partnership. I just want you to consider. I just want you to think when you go back to the mat this afternoon. Just
I'll think about it. But pretty good chance though. I like hanging out with you.
All right. Yeah. Anyway, early influences. Some of your favorite coaches or coaches that got you into being, you know, the runner and all that good stuff.
Being blessed in Monroe, having great people around me. I think all the way back to, you know, if we're talking about my running days.
Yeah.
7th grade, you know, Coach Olson.
Yeah, legend.
Cantrick. You know, he put together the
Turkey
trot mile, and, you know, from there, you know, if you work hard, and that was the biggest thing, is like having these coaches put you in situations, but also telling you, you know, for you to do well in this, you're going to have to run a little bit or train and work hard. So Coach Olson was my first, you know, coach that had me, you know, get into that running scene. And then from there, I jumped over to the junior high, and Coach Rick Kleinsmith was my track coach. I had Coach Jones, you know, basketball coach.
Legend.
You know, so many great coaches, but, you know, they all started to steer me toward running. You know, Coach Klein was like, you really need to, think about running cross country as a freshman. So I didn't as a freshman. I played football. But then again, I had the great coach, Randy Monday, who was my football coach, and Coach Polizzi. They told me, like, look, you're doing really well in these conditioning drills. And, if you go out for track, I think you can make an impact. So I went out for track, taking it really serious. I ran under Coach Kleinsmith in 8th grade, and I ran 4:54 in the mile. Jumped over into the track with Coach Randy Monday in 9th grade, and I dropped my time down to 4:32. And then that's when, Coach Randy Monday was like, I really want you to run cross country. You're doing well in football, but you've got a lot more talent potential to go onto the cross country team. And so that's when he handed me off to the Hall of Famer.
Right there, legend.
Coach Dave Bork. And
Coach Bork.
And the thing that Dave was great about is every year he would sit you down and
We're
say,
getting him on the show.
He would be a great guest.
We're getting him on the show.
And, and he was the one that really set the goal. What do you want to accomplish this year?
Right.
And then if you would say the goal, he would say, you're going to need to run 500 miles. You're going to need to run 750 miles, 1,000 miles.
I don't even like driving that far.
But you were on the team too, and you know that the clubs were important.
Yeah.
And I think that when I could see the work, and then he's saying you're going to improve. That was the biggest thing that that set my wheels in motion, and I just was addicted to saying I got to run hard, I got to train hard, and then a lot of people ask me like, well, did you know you're going to be a state champion? Did you know you would have an opportunity to run on full scholarship or make it to the Olympics? And once I started working, I really did, all I could think about is the next workout. So it'd be like, what's going to happen on Tuesday? That's over. What's going to happen on Wednesday? And then the next thing you know, all those accomplishments started, I started putting together all those accomplishments, and then, shoot, here I am all these years later with those rings.
Yeah,
that
and
tell
we're
a
going to
story.
get, I know there's a story behind all of them. My personal favorite's 1987.
That's a good one.
And I didn't get a class ring. Yeah. Did they make those available at like lunchtime or something? I missed out on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I got to talk to my parents on that bad boy
still
there.
Get one.
But
back to your point on Coach's Corner, think about you had great coaches in Monroe. Yeah. When I go Olson, Kleinsmith, Monday, Bork, if I didn't have those guys in my life, I don't know if I would have had any of those Olympic rings or SEC championships or NCAA championships. So I've just been really fortunate to have a great family, great friends, and then of course all those great coaches that put the ball in motion.
So speaking of friends, and so we've been holding out on you. I know we got together with a bunch of us a couple weeks back. And so when you
still recovering from that.
Yeah. So when you were deciding to go track and cross country, we had a little get together, just the boys and I.
Yeah.
And we were secretly glad that you went that route because you were freeing up some spots on the football team. I mean, you played some of the same positions as some of the guys. I mean, you were taking my minutes away on the basketball floor, and you were taking some at bats away from me on the baseball team. And so we were glad that you ran cross country and track because then you were just like done hogging all the spots. So some of us got to play a little bit. So I appreciate that. So
I always think when people say, "Hey, Williams played all the sports," I did play all the sports, but I don't want to. It sounds like I was great at all this. I think the reason I started in a lot of those and took some positions is because I did all the conditioning drills like a wild man.
Yeah,
so
you were crazy.
The coaches were like, "We've got to start this guy."
Yeah.
Basketball. What did he do? I would chase the ball around and play defense.
You were crazy.
Football, it was like I was wide receiver. I just keep running until
fly patterns. You invented the fly pattern.
Exactly.
Say, Williams, just go deep.
That's right.
Just keep running. We'll get the ball to you.
So I am glad that I jumped off those fields and those courts and hit the track and hit the cross country course because it ended up being a lot better for me.
Yeah. So much in the way. I mean, right? Everybody tuned into the ESPN special, right? A lot of people are watching, certainly today. LeBron, right, taking his talents down to South Beach, right? You're at Monroe High, you have a great running career, track, cross country. And now it's time to make a commitment, right, to where you're going to spend the next 4 years. So take us back to those days when you had those hats on the table at Monroe High, and you're deciding between Wisconsin, wherever, Stanford, and obviously you end up at Tennessee. So tell us a little bit about that decision.
It was tough. It's my first year of really running, a lot was my sophomore year, and then I, did pretty well, and then I went to a Tennessee camp. So I went to University of Tennessee track and field camp.
Go Vols.
And between my sophomore and junior year, and I ran my butt off, right? They had a meet at the end of the camp, and I ran some pretty fast time. So then I started to get on the radar from Division I schools from, Tennessee, LSU, Nebraska, Michigan, Wisconsin, and, I started taking the trips, going into my senior year. And I think the biggest factor for me to pick University of Tennessee, because Wisconsin was close, University of Texas was close, is I just had a great relationship, and I felt really comfortable going to Coach Doug Brown because he was a 3-time Olympian from Notre Dame High School here in Michigan. So he was a Michigan guy that ran at Tennessee, made 3 Olympic teams, and then here he is now as the head coach at University of Tennessee. And when he was sitting at my kitchen table, he just looked at my dad and looked at myself, and he said, if you keep working hard, you keep sacrificing, you do the things that you need to do, I think you can be on the Olympic team one day. And he was the first one that really said that. I mean, Coach Monday and Coach Bork knew that but as a college coach that had already been there.
You're knocking on the door now.
It gives me chills thinking about that day at that kitchen table with my dad. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to Tennessee. Yeah. And then on top of that, the guys, I'm still great friends with all my teammates at University of Tennessee. So again, it was tough to make that choice. But now that I look back, and I'm so glad I became a Tennessee Vol, because all the great people, all the great coaches, from Coach Doug Brown to Coach George Watts, and all my teammates made it a great experience. And that launched me on to the professional running ranks and making it.
And we're going to get to that, and that's the whole idea of this Coach's Corner. So when you're going back to the studio today, right, and you're hitting the mat with all of your competitors there, people that are working out, athletes there, that all of those coaches that we met, I mean, that's what this show is going to be about.
Yeah. Student
athletes, coaches, officials, athletic supporters, community members, people that have given back to the beautiful game of just athletics, right? We're going to be talking about that for sure. So the Olympics, man, the Olympics. People want to know. I read this in a history book.
Right.
You're marching in with the United States of America, right? Take us back to that moment, 92 and 96. Walking in, USA chants going on in the background.
And when myself or some of the other Olympians or most of the other Olympians, our focus was so, you had blinders on. So even though, when you're watching it on TV and it's such a huge, spectacle and you're in that arena, all I could think about is how I was going to perform.
Yeah.
And when I look back on camera, now I can cherish it, right? I'm like, I can kind of appreciate all the hard work that got me to walk into that stadium. But at the time, all I could think about is how am I going to perform? All the hard work that I put in, is it going to get me onto the place that I need to be, or the place that I worked hard to get to? And am I going to come across that line knowing I did everything possible? So, and another cool thing about the Olympics, wasn't necessarily my individual achievement or how I placed or how I failed in 96. I didn't do well in 96, but in 92, I made the final and finished 10th. The coolest thing for me when I look back on it is all the great people I met. I got to shake hands with an Olympic champion.
I love these stories, man.
Sitting at the, let's say going to lunch and there's Pete Sampras, Jennifer Capriati at tennis, Janet Evans in swimming, being able to shake hands with Magic Johnson, being able to shake hands with Charles Barkley. And in 1992, I was fortunate to be able to go to that first Dream Team gold medal game.
Yeah, we're watching it on TV.
Yeah.
You're at the game.
I was at the game. And, and being able to shake hands with those guys and get to pick the brains of some of the best athletes of all time, I think that was the coolest part of the Olympics and experience for me.
Any truth to the fact that Leitner took the last spot over you on that basketball team?
I don't know.
I had heard that.
Leitner definitely.
He had the height on you, but you could knock down the jumpers.
There was a lot of hype on that team, and for him to get a spot on that team,
to make that squad,
pretty amazing.
And some of the guys that didn't make that squad.
Oh,
Coach's Corner. You can't beat it.
Yeah,
Coach's Corner.
Yep.
Right here, beautiful studio here. So you coming closer to making a decision on this?
As soon as you start saying Coach's Corner, and I think about all the great coaches in this county.
And now you're doing it yourself.
It's going to be fun to pick the brains of some of the great minds in this county that's helped so many athletes.
And I've said that for so long, and you left and came back, and I left and came back, right? And you can always come back home, certainly. But just so many, just a walking history book here, and not just athletics, certainly all walks of life, but the amount of student athletes that have gone on and done great things, those are currently competing at the high school level. The coaches that have given to their craft, retired, current, officials. Certainly, we need officials, and so I just think, man, this is an open book. Coach's Corner.
Yeah, and I'm coaching at Monroe Jiu Jitsu now, and just in a short period of time, I'm going on year number 8. It's just the impact that coaches can make in kids' lives, right? That one split. I have an athlete. I won't mention names, but he was on the verge of not playing sports this fall, right? Wasn't going to do it this winter,
right.
And I kept saying, just go out. I promise if you go out,
right,
you're gonna get a bunch of friends, and you can be a leader. I know you have some talent. I know you've got the work ethic. So don't not go out because you have the fear. Now he's one of the captains of this team. He's possibly going to be a state qualifier.
Unbelievable.
And it's awesome.
And it's just those conversations, right? You took a few minutes out of your day
Yeah.
to have a conversation with somebody, and you steered them in a different direction.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's going to be hopefully what we do here on this show, right? Is
Yeah.
encouraging people to stay positive, give back, and all that good stuff.
What's the difference makers, right? It's every coach. Like, you have stories when you were a coach.
No question.
I have a coach, all the coaches that made differences in our life. And I think the Coach's Corner, with this being the first show, it's going to be every individual that you bring on here is going to be able to tell a story like I just told.
You know, my favorite, I'm a Seinfeld fan, but it all has to start with a pilot.
Yeah.
And this is the very first show.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know where this show is going to go after. I don't know what they're going to do with the show.
Well, hopefully it's going to grow and it's going to help a lot of people. Because at the end of the day, there's funny podcasts, which were,
this is going to be funny.
You can throw some
I think
humor.
it's going to be some
You can
fun.
throw some humor in
Yeah.
there. But if I come on this show,
There's going to be humor?
I want it to be serious as well. Because I think so many coaches.
I think it's a good balance. It's like good cop, bad cop.
I think there's a lot of coaches that need to be recognized for all their hard work and all the time they spend.
Yeah.
Because there's so many, the good coaches, they're invested in the programs. They're invested in the kids. They're spending so much time
no question.
to make their program successful and trying to pull more kids into their programs. And that's the stories that need to be told. So some of the people that are out there that kind of, when a program's down, they're like, oh, that coach sucks or that coach is horrible. No, they don't. That coach cares.
Yeah.
It's just maybe he's having a bad year.
It doesn't always show up in the win-loss record.
Exactly.
And so coaches, right, you've worked with coaches, you've coached and currently, and I've coached and certainly played and coached a number of years. The time that they put into their craft, right, win, lose, draw, and I've always said the difference between good coaches are some that treat it like a seasonal sport, and some it's just kind of a year-round passion. So speak to me a little bit about some of the coaches that you've had in the past and the time and effort they put in, regardless of what the scoreboard shows at the end of the night, because that's not always a reflection, certainly, of the passion and the time that they put in.
Well, and we hear it all the time, right? That coach is horrible, or they need to change coaches, or and it's like, look, especially at the high school level, a lot of these coaches are doing it for
very little,
the passion and the love of the sport and the love of the kids, and to see them develop. And I think that's what I would like to see Coach's Corner all about. Bring these coaches on that spend so much time, that have the late night phone calls, that have the conversations daily with their athletes, because it isn't just a 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. practice and then you shut it off.
Yeah.
No, it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week that you're worried about your kids, and the coaches are worried about their athletes, how they're doing in school, what decisions are they making outside the school, off the field, off the court. And it really is because you love your athletes. I know with me, coaching at Monroe Jiu Jitsu, I want to know how everybody's doing all the time. It's like sometimes you can't sleep because you're worried about how somebody's going to do it. Maybe they're joining a team at the high school or middle school. You're always worried, and you want them to be successful.
Yeah.
And that's
a good point.
And when I think about Coach Bork at Monroe High School, he wasn't just a 2:30 p.m. to 5. He had every split, every workout, everything that we ever did. Yeah. He had. When we went to that banquet, when you got that,
the booklet,
every dual meet, every split, everything that you did was in that. How many miles you ran, what you did at practice. And that's the type of coach that spends so much time. And those are the ones that we want on Coach's Corner, because they're doing everything they possibly can.
I love it.
For the kids to be successful.
I love it. So that sounded like maybe a solid, firm yes that you're going to be coming back.
Oh, yeah.
On the next edition of Coach's Corner. So Olympics, man, we talked about all the names, how cool of experience that is. All right, so your running days, Olympics are done, and now you're like professional runner, man. You're winning marathons and half marathons and races and all that. Tell us a little bit about your professional running experience.
Yeah, so when I graduated from University of Tennessee, I finished up my eligibility in June of 1991, which, by the way, when I think about
we got rings for that.
This right here, that NCAA championship ring.
That's a bad boy. You can't buy that at the store. Yeah, you got to earn that thing.
When we won that at University of Oregon in 1991, I had the opportunity to. It doesn't fit anymore.
I don't know. We're just going to set it right there. We're showcasing
there.
There
it is. So
right there.
After we won this as a team at University of Tennessee, Adidas, was the footwear sponsor that came to me, and we negotiated where I would run for them professionally, and from there it was off to the races. Right, I moved to London for the summers for about 4 summers in a row. I lived in London and I trained there, and then I was able to compete in Paris, Stockholm, Monaco. You name it. There's a lot of places that I was fortunate to be able to go compete against the best runners in the world, make a little bit of money. Which I never.
Nothing wrong with that.
When I first started running, I didn't even know there could be professional running. But there's a huge circuit, and I just worked extremely hard to be able to place as high as I could place in these races to earn more money, and it became my full-time job. And during that time, I got to go to the 1992 games in Barcelona, the 1996 games
Right here
in Atlanta,
Yeah.
and then the World Championships in Stuttgart, Germany, and then Stockholm, Sweden. Just, when I think back in the 90s, it was like a blur because it was like train hard, compete hard, repeat. Train hard, compete hard, repeat. And then once I started slowing down in 2001, 2002, I didn't want to be one of those athletes who just hung on and, couldn't run as fast anymore. And instead of challenging for the national titles or challenging to be top 10 in the world, I didn't want to be just hanging on. So I decided to hang them up when I was in 2002 and retired from professional running in 2002.
And when I decided to hang them up, I decided to do Coach's Corner. So very similar.
And here I am.
Here we are now.
Here we are.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
So any idea, if you had to guess?
NCAA ring.
Yeah.
And so then when this is going to go, that's 96.
We're lining them up like soldiers here.
There's 92.
Yeah, your ring collection.
There's 92.
92.
Right?
That's Barcelona.
That's SEC championship.
That's what I meant.
Yep. There's another SEC championship ring. And all these rings wouldn't matter unless
Right there's where it all started.
Monroe High School. And
why is it blue? I don't understand the blue.
That's blue topaz for March. March.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Coming up.
Hey, you were
55.
You were throwing
55 March 7th.
Yeah, gotcha. Happy early birthday.
So there it is. You told me to bring something
No,
special.
I know it. There's stories behind all of them. Hard work and the thing. Well, not hard. You worked hard there. That's what I meant. So, how many miles do you think you in your life? I know you drove here today. You should have ran.
When I retired,
how many miles?
02. I had running training logs from 1983 until 2002. When I retired, I added up all my miles from day one till the retirement day, and I had 63,000 miles in those logs.
63,000 miles.
63,000 miles.
Oh my goodness,
Lots of
that's
miles.
crazy. So I got to go back to a question here because this one's been eating at me 45 years. So you're at the dinner table at your place, right? And your dad, one of my favorite coaches of all time, right? We had a blast, and I'm not in the lineup, right? So I'm not in it hardly ever, right? I'm on the team. I'm just not in the lineup. So I just want to know about the conversation at the dinner table.
He said you're a great practice player.
Not like a primetime performer.
He said you pushed everyone in practice to be better.
Yeah, I wanted to see. I just wanted to go to a game. I just wanted to see the 9 slots here and see Salow somewhere in there.
You got in some when we were up,
not that much.
We were up a lot.
Yeah, I was up 10, down 10. That's put in Salow. It's safe.
You got in there.
We need a bunt.
Well, speaking of another coaches, in our life, that was another one. My dad, and I guess now that I'm coaching, I think about the influence he made and the impact he made on so many kids
no question.
in the Monroe area and also outside Monroe with his AAU basketball coaching. So I think when I'm coaching, I think, man, I remember my dad buying shoes for kids and how many kids used to spend the night at our house.
Always the night before.
Instead of our house having a family of 4 in there, I think we had a family of 40.
Spread out.
Downstairs.
Early morning, get in the van on the way. Yeah.
Had the basketball, had the baseball, and do our thing. So, I was fortunate to live with a great coach that impacted.
No question.
I'm trying to carry that on. But again, with this show being the Coach's Corner, I think you're going to see a lot of individuals that be able to tell that story.
Yeah.
In all different types.
I can't wait. I can't wait for the next episode.
Yeah, it's going to be.
I just don't know what to wear. I mean, what am I going to wear?
You should wear a whistle.
Okay. I brought a clipboard.
A little polo, your coach's shirt.
All right. We got to figure out what to wear.
I look like a coach right now.
You look official. I wanted to look professional.
You do. I came in looking like a coach.
Monroe Jiu Jitsu. All right. So you're done running. Well, I mean, I can think of all of the things to do in this world. How does that one hit you?
I watched UFC a lot. Watched a lot of MMA, mixed martial arts. Even when I was running, I always was. I wrestled as a kid, and then when I finished up running, I'm like, I have to pick something because I've got to get rid of this energy because I knew I wasn't going to run anymore, or at least professionally. So I decided that I was going to try Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because I knew, number one, it was going to be really, really challenging, and I knew it was extremely tough to advance in levels.
Yeah.
And I needed that in my life. So when I started that, it's, I'm going on year number 23.
And we said off air, almost been doing that as long as you've been running.
Yeah, longer now.
Longer now.
Isn't
that crazy?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows you as a runner. Yeah. You've got more years as jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. And again, on both sides, I always go back to the people that I've met and the people that influenced me. If I didn't have my first instructor, Seneca, that was his name, when I went into that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school in Knoxville, Tennessee, I don't know if I would have stayed, but he was a great coach.
He hooked you.
And then, then Luis Pajares, then that was my next instructor. Great coach, great guy, great family, and I just kept going. And, if you don't have those people on the mat or, for example, or on the track when I was running, people don't stick with it. Yeah. You've got to have that person when they look at you, like, that they want you to get that technique correct. That they want you to run a little faster. You know that they want you to hit the ball a little harder or be able to run a little, do the things that you need to do. And in my jiu-jitsu career, just like my running, I've just had awesome coaches, all the way through. And meeting other coaches along the way. I just got back from New York City this past weekend, still trying to learn, trying to be the best coach I can be. So I'll go to different schools around the United States to pick their brains. And, JT Torres and his academy outside of New York City, I learned a heck of a lot over the last 4 days when I was there. So I can share that with my athletes so they could be better.
Yeah, it's a good point, that hook. I've always wondered, whether it's any high school in America, college campus, all of the student athletes that are walking those halls, walking that campus, that should be doing something athletically, that we're missing out on that key conversation I know that you've had with your athletes, somebody that pulled them aside and say, hey, you know what, you need to really pursue this. And I mean,
and be real with
hallways are filled with these kids.
I think coaches too, they don't need to sugarcoat, and there's one thing between, the Bobby Knight way, which is kind of the real,
abrasive, aggressive,
criticism more than it was constructive criticism with positive reinforcement. Let's say a Coach K. So you've got two kind of different ways to approach with success on both sides. But at the end of the day, I think kids need to hear, you need to freaking work hard. You need to stop complaining. You need to stop saying, oh, this hurts or that hurts. Or, at the end, the way that you're going to get better is you're going to have to fight through being uncomfortable.
Yeah, and you said that, early on, it's like, Coach Bork, you got to run 500 miles. And the next summer, it's like, dude, you got to run 750. If you're going to compete with what you want to compete against, you got to up your miles. And not like, hey, 500's okay, let's do it again.
Here's another thing about coaches. Let the coaches coach. They're the ones that signed up to coach. They're the ones that are coaching the athletes. There's a lot of people that try to come in and try to be coach when they're not the coach. So when somebody's in there, let them coach. Let your kid get in there and learn from that individual, because that's who the coach is. But at the end of the day, the lesson nowadays, and if I would have ever talked back to my coach, my dad,
that was not going to happen.
Would have been good.
No,
I listened to the coach. If a coach would have said run 2,000 miles,
you'd have done it.
I would have run 2,000 miles.
Yeah,
he would have told me to do 2,000 push-ups a day. I'd have done 2,000. I'd do whatever I had to do because he was telling me to do that to be successful.
I just remember, I've shared this with you before, we'd be at Rosser with all the guys, right, hanging out, doing our thing, chasing the girls, umpiring game, whatever. And it's like everybody's on their mopeds, because that was the moped era, man. That was cool, right? You got your headset on, your little headset with Billy Squire going in the background, man. And all of a sudden you got Todd Williams running over the railroad tracks by fences like every single day. I said, dude, get your moped out.
Yeah.
Just get your moped.
Yeah, you guys are on the moped. I definitely was putting in the miles.
All started in the hallways of Manor Elementary School.
Manor Bob.
And now look at these rings, man. Unbelievable. And giving back now to Monroe County, giving back to our student athletes. I know you're still influential at everything at Monroe, certainly in the area. It's good stuff. Monroe Jiu Jitsu.
Monroe Jiu Jitsu, Monroe Track and Field, Monroe Cross Country, Monroe Wrestling. But again, I pull for this whole region. Of course, I'm going to always talk about Monroe High School because that's where I went.
I think we're going to have to branch out on the show, though, because I think we got to get the other schools in here, too. You know what I'm saying?
That's what we need to do on Coaches Course. There's lots of amazing coaches.
I know it.
I guarantee
we're branching out. We're branching out.
Every successful coach in this region will say something similar to what I said.
Yeah. It's going to be fun.
Work your butt off.
Yeah.
Stop complaining. Show up as much as you show up. I never missed a practice.
No.
I don't think I missed a practice ever at Monroe.
Yeah.
Ever. In any sport. But again, even coaching jiu-jitsu, I see sometimes, like yesterday I had the conversation with my kids' class. I said, hey, I sat them down. I said, I went to this school in New York, and the kids' class had 100 kids there, and all of them were conditioned.
Yeah.
And they were looking at me like, some of their young kids in there, like they're looking at me like, well, conditioned. I said, so you know what we're going to do today? We're going to run, and we're going to do bear crawls, and we're going to run, and we're going to do bear crawls. It wasn't and then I said this. I said, coaches shouldn't use conditioning as punishment. Coaches should use it to let you know that you're going to be better when you go against that opponent.
I like it.
And they got on the line and they hammered.
Okay.
But being real with an athlete is I think if you're asking me as a coach what's most important, being real with them and challenging them and let them know that they need to learn how to be comfortable in an uncomfortable spot.
So being honest, right? You're looking at me, right? Highly tuned, fit athlete. How would I do in the jiu-jitsu world? If you could just break down my skill set right now. You're my coach. I walk in day one. I'm saying, hey, I'm here for some jiu-jitsu. I watch Karate Kid. Right? I watch Vision Quest. I know all about it.
Yep.
What are you doing with me?
You're going to get conditioned.
Bear crawls?
Everything. Before you even tie up in
Am I overdressed?
Yeah. I'm going to put you in a singlet. That's going to be the first thing.
That I want to see. Next edition of Coach's Corner, man. I'm putting the singlet on.
Yeah.
I think every episode we wear different clothes for that sport. So I'm thinking, whoever the guest is on the show, right? So we're talking wrestling, singlet. We're talking swimming, Speedo. We're talking football. We're talking full gear. Hockey, put on the goalie's mask. What are you thinking?
I'm not putting on a Speedo ever.
I mean, for the show. I mean, it's for the fans.
No.
People love that stuff.
Maybe. I'll probably go with surf shorts more. You wear a Speedo, I wear surf shorts.
All right. That's good for viewership.
Yeah.
That's good for viewership. So here's what I'm thinking, right? So Coach's Corner, right? Coach's Corner. And this is the pilot. I'm just thinking of endless possibilities on this show.
We're going to look
right?
back on this one day and go, wow.
They do it often. Friends, Frasier, Seinfeld, MASH. They always look back at that pilot. We're looking back at it today. But I'm thinking going forward, student athletes that are doing well on the playing surface, right? Coaches, up-and-coming coaches, retired coaches, successful coaches, officials, community members that have been influential in sports stuff. Man, there's no end.
And I think, we're talking about.
I think we could do a daily show.
We're talking about this before. I think you give your contact information.
Yeah, my people.
Get people on this show. They're going to want to be on this show.
After they see this,
right?
They're going to be. Their people are going to be reaching out to our people. Now the problem is we got to have some people.
No, we got some people. But what I'm saying is they're going to want to get on this show.
Right.
And what I want on this show.
Coach's Corner.
The hardest workers.
Yeah.
Toughest athletes.
Toughest.
New coaches that are going to make an impact.
Love it.
Old coaches that have already had, they've already made the impact and they're continuing to do great things.
Right.
This show's all about greatness and hard work.
I think we take it a step further. I love that because we can have them right here on the couch with us. I think we both sides.
They're not going to want to sit by you.
Oh yeah, either side. We get two guests. You get one on each side. You get one on each side. You get 4 guests. I think then we go big time and we start bringing in Olympic people, college baseball coaches, professional people, and we Skype them in.
I like that.
They don't have to be here. They don't have to be here on Coach's Corner.
It'd be interesting too. A lot of questions are asked, to me over the years, like, how does a kid get recruited?
We're going to talk about it. Watch Coach's Corner. We can't. Don't give it away right now.
So many topics.
That's another segment. Don't give that away right now.
Okay.
We're going to talk about some of the finer points. Conditioning.
Sponsors.
Well, we need sponsors. We need sponsors. I mean, because we want to have commercials. We want to say, all right, we're going to take a little break. We want to hear from, and that's a good place where we could put that in.
And then I get paid.
Do we get paid for this?
Maybe.
I don't know if we get paid. I think it's just maybe we do. I got to talk to Devin and Pete. I don't know. Maybe there's some. Maybe there's some.
You see what Rogan
they said the checks in the mail. I don't know what that meant.
$295 million.
What do the Kelseys get?
I don't know, but they get something.
Is there any chance in your walks of? You've been all over. Is there any chance that you have met Taylor Swift and can we get her on the show? Can we throw that out there now?
No.
Because I don't want to throw it out there if it's not true. Can we get anybody by the name of Taylor? Can we get DeAndre Swift?
No.
Maybe from the Eagles?
No. Now you're.
There's no Swift.
Now you're reaching. Now you're reaching, Scott.
Coach's Corner right here with Todd Williams and Scott Salow. We're going to bring it to you. We're bringing some energy. We're bringing some noise to Monroe County. I tell you what, it's like, where were you when? Where were you when this first pilot hit the airwaves? Mm-hmm. Where were you when?
And in saying that, like I said, contact Scott.
Contact me.
Contact you.
Because I know.
Get on this show.
Yeah, contact me.
Get on early.
Get on early.
Yep.
Yeah, and I should probably broadcast my cell phone number and my email. Mm-hmm. Probably email. And then if they can't find me, just go down to Monroe Jiu Jitsu. Get one of those singlets, sign up for a class.
There you go.
Roll. We'll go roll.
We'll
go roll. I remember the first time I said jiu-jitsu, and I knew nothing. I said, you're ready to throw me down. I said, you know what? Wax on, wax off. And that is not jiu-jitsu. That is not. I know it. And it hurt your feelings when I said that. So I'm not saying that anymore.
Actually, I think for you to, since you
Mr. Miyagi, I'm not saying it anymore. I just said I was not.
Since you just did, you should follow me to the gym after the show.
We're going to roll on is that what they say? We're going to roll? Is that the right terminology?
We're going to roll. That's what this show is going to do.
We're going to roll. We're going to roll. Yep. We're going to do baseball, football, tennis, cross country, swimming, diving, archery, bass fishing.
Mm-hmm. A lot to choose from, though. I mean,
a lot of options.
That's the thing about this county, man. There's just so many great people that are doing great things.
In the studio, there's so much room for activity in this studio.
Yeah.
I mean, these couches, how would you rate the couches?
Pretty comfortable.
I mean, I like they're comfortable, but also you got a good surface here for coffees and rings.
How much that suit? You got to take that suit off for next show.
They said they're getting us outfits.
Well, that needs to go.
Coach's Corner. Stay tuned for the very next episode. I can't wait. Thanks for joining me, brother. We're going to do this together, man. 1987. Let's go.
It's going to be fun. We're going to highlight this county. A lot of great people. We're going to bring in some big timers.
Big timers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Look back at this show and say,
this is where it all started, right here.
At the Coach's Corner.
Yeah. Can we play here's what I want to hear. I want when we come into the studio, I want to be able to march in like a baseball walk-up song, and I want like you had when you entered the Olympic Stadium. I want USA. Can we do that? No. I want some kind of a welcome.
Well, what I'm
Welcome to the jungle,
what I'm gonna
something?
tell you is right now,
Thunderstruck?
since this is a podcast,
Yeah.
wrap it up.
Wrap it up. We'll be back. Coach's Corner right here. Monroe County Sports Network.
See you.